Well, welcome to our second workshop. I will first introduce myself for the ones who don't know me. I'm Marieke, and I'm married to Joost, but I decided to keep my own name. I like my own name, yes. I studied sociology and communication science here in Nijmegen, and I obtained a PhD in criminology. So I'm not at all in the business, but I was married to Joost, and as Joost's company started growing and evolving, I became involved as well. And 2 years ago, I decided to stop with my own academic career because of Joost and because of our 4 children. Yes, we have 4 children. The youngest is only 3 months. So I'm right back at work this week. Okay, I like to write. I have always written diaries, high school journals, everything. And so when I came to Joost, I first started to updo his writing. So to give his writing some tips and to make that better. And I did some research myself, so I'm writing my own blogs as well now, and I've written 2 ebooks. So. But writing is what I like most. So I'm going to tell you in this workshop something about how to write awesome blog posts. As Joost mentioned this morning, it's very important for to keep ranking high in Google to write awesome text. So to be the best, that will result in high rankings. So you can't get away anymore with poorly written blog post. You have to write something that's really awesome. There are many more reasons why you should write well-written text. I will tell you something about that. I will give you some writing tips. And I will look into how we at Joost use our own page analysis tool in order to increase our own ranking or to fine-tune our own text. Yes, I'm not going to tell you what my point is just yet. Why high-quality content? Why should you put effort in a well-written text? Why is that so important? Well, it's important because in poorly written texts, people won't understand your message. Huh? Every text should have its own message. You should have an aim for writing that text or that blog post. And that aim should not be to rank high in Google. Some people think that the only reason you have to come up and to write copy is for the search engines. And I can imagine that writing text will result in higher rankings, but that should not be the aim of your blog post. There should be another aim. You should have an informative text, or you should have a text that's amusing to people, or you should have a text that persuades people to buy your stuff. So when we did, I think it was last week, we made an infographic about the avatars that Aaron made about Joost. And the first comment beneath what people said about that was that, well, nice post, Joost, but what are you aiming to rank for with this post? Well, we weren't aiming to rank for anything. We just wanted to show you how the character of Joost or its avatars evolve, because it's nice or it's amusing. So that was our aim. And of course, you could rank with your copy, but it shouldn't be your first aim. Your first aim should be a different one. So you should think about your message, and that should be the sole element that's most prominent in your text. In well-written text, people will understand your message. They will know what you want them to do. If your text is well-written, people will be more likely to read it and to stay on your page than if it's poorly written. This will result in a lower bounce rate and eventually lead to higher rankings. If your text is well-written, people will be more likely to trust you as an authority. They will think, okay, this looks professional. They know what they're talking about. I understand what they are talking about. So it will lead to more trust, which is really good for your brand and eventually also for your ranking. And it will receive more attention in social media. If your blog post sucks, then nobody is going to share that on Facebook. So you will first have to convince someone that you're reading or that your post is great, and then they will share it. They won't share it if it's poorly written or is just not that good. Yeah, and social media gets more and more important for people to find your site. So it's in our case, if one of our blog posts is retweeted or liked often, that will result in much more attention. So how do you do that? In our ebook about content SEO, there's an whole section about how to write. I will give some writing tips, but if you want to know all of them, you should read our book. You should think about structure. Before you are going to write, you should think about what am I going to tell those people and how am I going to tell that. You should create paragraphs. That seems really obvious, but a lot of people just put on some white spaces just where they like it, just where they think it looks great. And Michiel? Yes. Yeah, they do that after they think, well, there hasn't been a white space in a while. I will put it here because it looks nice. You should think about a paragraph as a kind of a unit which is thematically combined. So these sentences should have something in common. And a paragraph should have one message, not two, one message. So think about, what am I going to say in this paragraph? I usually start with one important sentence, which says it all, and then elaborate on that sentence, and that's my paragraph. For the web, you should not make paragraphs too long, because it's hard to read. It's hard to read from a screen. I like to print things out, but I'm not allowed to. So, yeah. I read from my iPad, but it's hard. It's much harder than from paper, in which you can scribble a little. So you should think about that and make paragraphs and sentences short. And use subheadings. That's good for your SEO too, but also for readability. You should take your reader by the hand and tell them, this is important, this is what you should read, and this is how the story goes. And if you take your reader by the hand, you take Google by the hand as well. So they will grasp that structure as well. What you can do is to use signal words. We have all learned these words in our, I think in high school, in Dutch I learned these words. And they help you, or help the reader, to understand what you are saying. And you all use these words, because you all know these words, but you should use them and be aware that you're using them, and use them at the right time. So, if you make an enumeration, make sure you use the words and enumerate in a way that your reader will grasp the structure. Yeah? Same for causes, comparisons, or conclusions. And as a result, or hence, therefore, in conclusion, that gives away what you wanted to say. So that words is like a signal for the reader to get your point. And you should think about style, which is really hard because some people are just more Hemingways than others. And it's hard to write if it's not naturally given to you. But what you should do is to mix it up, to mix long sentences with short ones, and to look at the word order. Are you always writing I, and then a verb, and then done some? You can mix it up, so that not all your sentences start with I. You should avoid passive voice, which is the leidende vorm in Dutch. What passive voice does is that it takes away the subject in your sentence. So it's unclear who or what did something. And if you have a lot of passive voice in your copy, it gets really distant to read. And it's not very nice. If you use Word to write in, you can get a grammar control, and Word will let you see with the green thingish. When you use passive voice, you can also use the Hemingway tool, which is online, which is free. They do the same, and we are currently working on putting it in our own page analysis tool as well. But it's a long project, so don't expect anything soon. very important. The most important thing is to write an awesome text. You should think about what word you would like to rank for before you write it. You should do that. And you can do a little research in what words are used more often and pick out a good focus keyword. What do I want to say? Keep that in mind. Yeah, and write your post. And then go to our plugin. I then put the text in the WordPress backend, and Joost is always mad about that because he wants me to write in the WordPress backend, but I don't do that. But you can, and there's also a button with that gets away all the fuss, and he showed me that, but I still don't like it. But you can do both. After you put it in the WordPress backend, you fill in your focus keyword, and you enter your meta description. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. And then you can fine-tune, but you should not make many changes then. Because if you have thought about your text well, then your text should be in great shape. And SEO then is only fine-tuning. If you are going to fill in your focus keyword in every sentence, your text becomes unreadable. Now, let's see how we do that. This is a post Joost wrote about, well, in sort of advance in this conference. He ranks number 3. And he didn't put holistic SEO in his meta description. But we still rank. Yeah. No. You see that the keyword density in this case is low. We always have a low keyword density because we write relatively long posts. And if you put your keyword in too often, it just gets really hard to read. So that's a very important one. If that one is not green, keep it that way. You should write a long enough post, so above the 300 words. I always, what I do is, I look at the keyword appears in the first paragraph of the copy. Most of the times I didn't think about that when I was writing my blog post, but I will check that. And usually I can easily mend that. If it's in the first paragraph, I will just change that. It's not a very big thing, and it can lead to a better ranking in Google. Same goes for the headings and the title. But I usually leave the other things alone, and then I get a green bullet. You should have a green bullet above, right? The big green bullet, that should be green. But don't fuss too much about the other ones. I will show you that Michiel, and Michiel always does this perfectly, yes. And his Flies Reading Ease, this is the best he had ever, because he always writes really hard text. Yeah. That one actually isn't very good in Dutch. It's an English test, so you should be aware of that and not look too much into it if you're writing in Dutch. Keyword density is low. And Joost himself, Thijs, didn't even bother to enter a meta description. Yeah, if you don't enter your meta description, Google just picks out, well, the first sentence of his blog in this case, and it was, I was actually made aware of this new feature by my colleague Peter, which is really nice, but doesn't have anything to do with what this post is about. Still, it has a green bullet, and it ranks. It did rank at number 6. But maybe if he fills out his meta description, we can get higher. The most important thing is, and I wrote about this in a blog called The Temptation of the Green Bullet, is that people want all the bullets to be green, and they don't have to be. You will over-optimize and make your text really unreadable if you do such a thing. I once wrote a post, and then it didn't have a green bullet, and I thought, oh, Joost will get really mad. I have to get a green bullet. And then I changed my focus keyword, and it immediately went green. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, I have picked that focus keyword for a reason. I want people to find me on that focus keyword and not on another one. So then you have to fine-tune your post. And you've written it in the wrong way. It's really, the green bullet isn't the thing that makes it rank. It's just a check whether or not it ranks. So I saw myself doing things that you shouldn't do, and I know people here do the same and want green bullets, but it's more than just green bullets.
Green bullet for a crappy keyword is still...
Yeah, Joost says a green bullet for a crappy keyword is still not a very good SEO tactic. So before you write, you should do some keyword research and pick out the right keyword. And the right keyword is the keyword your audience uses the most to come to your website or to that post or what you want to rank for. Are there any questions? Yes? It's
a lot less frustrating to write a post because specifically I have a web shop with products, and sometimes I do a blog post about a certain product or group of products, and then you say, well, there's no heading with the product name, but it's about the product. So then you have, okay, the specs, the specifications of this product, specifications of this product.
Yeah, that's really. Well, that's kind of a bad thing, or a bad thing. It's a work in progress, but our plugin only allows you to fill in one focus keyword. And if your focus keyword is really long, like everyday website optimization, which Michiel's focus keyword was, then the plugin only checks whether it's in that form in your article. Yeah.
We'd like to do better.
We are working on that because that's a limitation, and you should be aware of that. And if you have it in another way, so if Michiel has website optimization every day in another sentence, of course Google will pick that up as well. So you should. It's a handy tool, and in my previous workshop I got really nice feedback from someone who said his entire business depended on our tool. But you should take it with a piece of salt. Because a grain of salt, that's it.
I mean, you can have like the plural and the singular form. You can have optimization. You can have different forms with the same core key. And language analysis done by computer is not.
It's
not
inherently broken.
Yeah.
It's also the funny thing is if you think about this. And think about writing Chinese and doing this kind of analysis on Chinese doesn't really translate in any way, shape, or form. It's one of the reasons actually why we're rebuilding it in JavaScript, because it allows us to do a few things actually better because we can do it more interactively. But it's text analysis and content analysis is always going to be hard. We're doing it right in your browser, so we have limited computing capability. We're not going to send it off to other servers. So we can't do Google-like analysis. So we're trying the best we can, but well, as Marieke said, take it with a grain of salt. It's not the end of the world if you don't get all those green bullets.
No, you shouldn't read it.
No, I don't think I've written a post that has completely green bullets for years.
Well, Michiel has all. Michiel's. I went
Michiel does that
through all of them, checking for which ones I could show you, and I wanted to show you some in which we also had orange and red bullets, but Michiel's posts are mainly green.
So.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
White space wherever.
Yeah, he does that, but his style is, and that's for people who have a natural style to write. Like Michiel can make a lot of puns and metaphors and make it fun to read. Then it's then your structure becomes a bit less important. And for people who have problems writing, you should be aware that your structure can make a crappy blog post into a normal one. And Michiel, with some tips, could be the next Hemingway because he has his natural style. And if he stops with writing, if he stops writing paragraphs of one sentence.
The funny thing is that some of the things we are saying are actually direct oppositions of what, for instance, Copyblogger does in how they teach people to write. And that's because we actually disagree with them. I like them, but they are like the heroes of one-sentence paragraphs. And it all makes sense until you start talking to Marieke, and she goes like, yeah, no.
No, but I don't know, because I don't know a lot about that, about how they do it. Yeah. It could be, one sentence isn't a paragraph. But the most important thing is that you shouldn't write one sentence just because you think, oh, I haven't had a white space in a long time. I just put one here. That's the wrong. You should think about, why do I put my white space here? Because people will start reading the first sentences of your paragraphs first. So if your first sentence of every paragraph is the most important one, then people will grasp the structure of your copy much easier. So my entire thesis was written, and you can read every single sentence of each paragraph and then grasp the entire research thingy. You should do that. Nobody reads it. So.
Well, it's actually very interesting.
No, you didn't read it either.
About the writing, I'm sometimes in doubt when I have, I think, a good blog post and I want to make an attachment to it. Do I make a new blog post, or do I extend the other one and make it just longer? For example, I've a post about vocht in huis in Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how much you want to say about it, but I'd say 2 posts.
And link them to each other?
Oh yeah, I'd say 2 posts, link them to each other, use tags for stuff like that where you could create a tag, vocht or moisture, and combine them, yeah. So every once in a while, Michiel will write a blog post. I'm sorry, Michiel, I'm taking you as an example yet again. But every once in a while, Michiel will write a blog post and Marieke will go, you've not written 1 blog post, you've written 3.
He writes blog posts of 5,000 words. That's a book.
So and then we just go like, okay, so how do we break this up in a natural way? And we just break it up into 3 posts. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, just make sure that those posts on their own are proper entities that have. If you're working on your ranking, then those posts on their own should rank for specific keywords. Yeah. And the 3 combined probably share a tag, and then that tag page could rank for a bigger term.
Dus you could write a post above them. So like you have 3 posts about moist in your house, and they all rank to 1 post, which gives
either 1 post or
some
a tag
more
page.
General information.
Yeah, so either 1 post or a tag page or a category page. Or I spoke to someone earlier who has an e-commerce site, and it was like, yeah, I've got like 6 different T-shirts.
Oh, you talked to them too.
But what do you write about 6 different T-shirts if they're all ecological white T-shirts? And I'm like, you don't optimize each single page. You optimize the category, and then the single page is linked to the category because the product will go away as well. So. In this case, I would optimize the tag or category page. Yeah. Which is, if you look at our recent series on Webmaster Tools, we did a whole series of posts on Webmaster Tools for Google and Bing, and we optimized the tag page as well. And now the tag page is ranking for the term Webmaster Tools. Of course, Google decided to change the name of Google Webmaster Tools, which doesn't really help. But well, I mean, silly stuff keeps happening all the time. But it's. You have to think about entities, and sometimes it's easier to tackle a very big keyword with more posts.
You can go long tail first.
Yeah, go for the long tail first, and make all those long tail posts help you rank for that top keyword. So.
Was that a cue that I... I don't know what time... Oh, we have some time left, yes?
I was wondering, when you write blog posts
We write a lot, but I think it takes time. So if you get advanced in writing, it of course becomes much easier to write a blog post. But I think about 40% of your time is more thinking about structure and thinking about what you are going to write. And the actual writing process is only 20%. And then you have to fine-tune the things you've written.
It really depends on who writes.
I write a blog post in about 2 hours, 2.5. You write a blog post in 10 minutes. But then I look at the blog post.
It depends a bit. So some posts take ages, and some posts just roll out because they're obvious.
And how long do you take between the actual writing and the publishing?
Well, we should take a whole lot longer than we do. We have this job we're currently interviewing for called content manager. There's a reason we want to hire someone to basically bash us to do better.
But after we have written a blog post, dus Michiel, Thijs, and I and Joost, we read each other's stuff, and then we'll correct if necessary.
So usually it'll be done about a day before we publish, and then we get feedback from each other, and then we revise and then we publish. But we should. In the ideal long term, we'd have a bit more time, so we could actually have Aaron draw stuff for important posts, etc. But that is probably one of the harder things to do when it's not all you focus on. I'm already happy when people publish.
I'm not.
You're focusing on a blog post, but shouldn't you manage your complete web text?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do it. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you how we do it and what we think is best.
No, you should. Every page should be well written. Yes.
What was the question?
Sorry, the question was whether we're talking about blog posts, but shouldn't it be all web text?
Yes. So all articles, all
site.
text on your site should be awesome. Everything should be awesome.
Yeah.
Everything should be focused on the user.
Yes.
Well, yeah. In the end, everything has to be read. That's the most important thing.
I have a question about titles, blog post titles. So there are two approaches I'm currently testing, and I would like to hear your thoughts on it. So basically, I have a title which is really optimized for the focus keyword, right, for rankings, and I have another version of the title which is a bit more clickbaity. So the question is, which one would perform better in terms of user? I mean, I already know that clickbaity title, which will rank lower, but will increase the engagement of the users. So,
Do an A/B. I don't know.
So the honest answer is it depends.
Yeah, you could do an A/B test.
Yeah,
I always like an A/B test.
Yeah, so you could test that. It also depends on the authority of the site you're publishing on. So we can.
This is actually a nice bridge to cross.
Yeah, it is. Well, Carl might actually touch on that, but it's hard to do that. It really depends on where you are. We can get away with a lot less keyword density and a lot less spamming because we have such a high authority domain.
Yeah, if I write on my own personal blog, my rankings won't be as high as.
Yeah.
One solution, one hack I found to this is actually just adding the keyword, the focus keyword at the start and a colon. So if I write about WordPress experts, colon, how to get the best of them. Right?
Yeah. Well, stuff like that works, but look at what The Guardian does and what some of the bigger publishers that do well do. They have teams that do nothing but optimize titles.
We have to.
We're going to switch over to Carl. Do we have everyone in the room yet? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Everybody's waiting outside.
Yeah.
Let them go in. Thank you, by the way.
Thank you.